welcome back to Muppets in Space, a Farscape rewatch podcast on the incomparable. Tonight we wrap up the three-part Look at the Princess trilogy with Season 2, Episode 13, Look at the Princess, Part 3, The Maltese Crichton, and then back to our usual hijinks, we'll talk about that, in Episode 14, Beware of Dog. I'm your host, Eric Scott, and joining me as always, my fellow co-host, somebody who doesn't see imaginary people, at least I don't think he does, Jason Johnson.
Glad to be here, but I gotta tell you, I don't care what you say, I'm not going back to being a statue.
Oh, but it's great. You can get your head chopped off and still be alive. I mean, what's the drawback there?
Well, they gotta find it first. Anyway, yeah. Uh,
People can talk to you through the headset, so it's like you're never, it's like you're still there. It's what's the point?
yeah, I think my grandparents had one of those wireless packs for their hearing aids. But anyway,
We'll get to that and much more. But yeah, let's jump on into the exciting conclusion to the Look at the Princess trilogy. Our first trilogy, maybe, or well, I guess of this season anyway.
I think ever. The others were two-parters.
Yeah, just that last part of season one, I guess, was a couple. It seemed like it was longer, but it was a couple different like two-parter kind of things. Yeah. All right, episode 13, season 2. Look at the Princess, part 3, The Maltese Crichton. Counselor Tyno tells Dargo, Chiana, and Rigel that Scorpius has been told to leave the planet by the Empress. Yay. They hope that Moya will return so they can leave, although Rigel does want to stay behind with Crichton for his own reasons. Dargo uses a special headset to speak to Statue Crichton, as does Chiana. Later, Clavor enters, has a kind of little hissy fit, and gets mad and punches the Crichton statue. Ouch, bad move. Then Kargan enters and sort of just has some kind of like laser cutter and just chops off Crichton's head. They then take that to a acid pit, as you do, since as a statue he's still alive, and they throw the head in and leave it to dissolve.
That sounds like a wise choice.
Yeah, because you don't want to be there and watch it dissolve. You just want to leave and not make sure. Anyway, we'll get to that. Aaron and Dragon, remember them, are preparing to rock climb in the Barren Lands, and she asks him why he's agreed to everything she suggested so far, and he kisses her, saying that he's attracted to her. Duh, he's kind of all over in the first. Anyway, the Empress is mad at seeing Crichton's decapitated statue. Well, yeah, because there goes your next dynasty, and orders that nobody leave the planet or contacts their ships until Crichton is made whole. Tyno questions Aaron's whereabouts, but Rigel suggests Scorpius' involvement. Tyno then tells them they must find Crichton's head. Speaking of which, Crichton's head is removed from said acid pit by our old buddy Scorpius. Scorpius mentions that he sampled Crichton's DNA back in the Aurora chair, and that's how he tracked him down.
Is that how DNA works?
When you're not made up of flesh anymore, I'm not sure. Maybe whatever. What you can talk still, so whatever. Anyway, don't think about it. Just go with it. Scorpy is then interrupted when he hears a noise and is suddenly shot several times. Back on Moya, Zan is fiddling with a DRD as Kahenu tells her that she should leave on a transport soon. He goes to leave, but Zan says that if Moya and Pilot will die, then she and he will remain with them until the end. She gets the DRD to start Farscape 1's engine, sucking in the made-of-smoke Kahanu. Zan says that she will spare him if he spares Moya, but he refuses and gets sucked into Farscape 1. Back on the planet we don't know the name of, Dargo couldn't find Crichton's head and feels responsible for Crichton's predicament. Jenna puts on a headset. She's the one that saved Crichton. If she gets it right, she says she can put him back together. She does manage to reconstitute Crichton, who is feeling a bit stiff after that little ordeal. Meanwhile, Clavor is angry and tells Kargan to do something because somebody retrieved Crichton's head. Meanwhile, back in the Barren Lands, Dragon is stuck because it's his first real rock climbing experience outside of the training center. Aaron rappels down to try to help him up, but he grabs her leg and they both fall off the cliff.
So you're saying it's a rocky relationship?
Yeah, exactly. Scott's ups, Scott's downs. Jenna has taken Crichton to someplace outside of the city to keep him safe. She asks him why Scorpius is here, but he again says that he can't say. However, she forces him to say, and forces him to tell the truth, because he knows too much about her. So he fills her in and asks why she picked him over Scorpius. She says that he is her best chance at completing her mission and asks for his help. Back on Moya, Zan is praying for Pilot when Kahinu appears and says that Moya lives. She is reactivated and Pilot wakes. He says that when they first came aboard Moya, he wanted to see if Zan was worthy. These beings will do anything for whoever's on board, so she could potentially produce an army of killing machines. Pilot says that Zan would never do that, and Kahinu says that he knows that now. She will protect Moya and Pilot from those out to exploit her. Zan demands then that he leave, and he agrees. But first, Moya wants to speak with her. Moya says that she has one request for Zan. Sing! Yay. Back on the planet, Dargo asks Scorpius if he knows where Crichton is, and he admits that no, he doesn't, but is anxious to find him. Well, yeah. They are now effectively allies. Scorpius says that Clavor and Kargan are the natural suspects. He then says that he will help him get all off the planet, take Crichton's wormhole knowledge, and then hand him back. Sure. Kargan appears and says that he is honored to meet Dargo. He congratulates Scorpius on his plan to marry the princess, but Dargo tells him that they despise Scorpius. Kargan tries to use his power to get the truth about Crichton's condition and whereabouts from Dargo. Dargo eventually gives in and says he thinks Chiana might know where he is, and Scorpius then offers Kargan a deal. But he instead says he'll race Scorpius to Chiana. Aaron is dragging Dragon back to the city to try to find help, because apparently he's broken his leg and she broke her leg and he's kind of all messed up from falling off a cliff, as you do. Meanwhile, Dargo asks Rigel if he knows where Chiana is, but Rigel says they split up and agrees to help find her. Kargan has Chiana and knows that she knows nothing. Clavor then argues with Kargan and tries to sever all ties with him, but in response, Kargan kills Clavor. Oops, that didn't go so well.
Yeah, that was a match made in nowhere.
Yeah, so much for that plan. Jenna asks Crichton if she can trust him, and he says that yes, she can. Scorpius goes to Dargo and tells him that they both needed to kill Kargan, who has Chiana. Dargo says that Crichton will die before going to Scorpius, but he says that Dargo underestimates the strength of their relationship. Even Crichton doesn't understand it yet. Meanwhile, Jenna and Crichton are skinny dipping in the lake, more on that later, and she gives him a weapon, saying that she may not be able to protect him after tomorrow. Then they kiss, and probably do other things that we'll also talk about later. Dragon apologizes to Aaron and talks to her about being scared of emotional pain and that it's all worth it for the days when they are truly in love. He says that it's a shame that she can't get back to tell Crichton that she loves him.
So you're saying that he's trying to talk her off the emotional cliff?
Ooh, good one. A little too late. He's not a statue, as far as she knows, but anyway.
Well, yeah. It's just a rocky relationship.
Them's the jokes, folks. Meanwhile, Jenna and Crichton prepare for showtime, but before they do, she offers him the compatibility test, but he says nope, they're not compatible. Jenna goes in, asking him to give her time. Back in the Barren Lands, somebody finds Aaron and Dragon and goes to get help. Back in the city, Jenna is in the room with Clavor's body, and Tyno offers his condolences. Rigel says that it's the Scaren's doing, but Tyno says the Empress knows that, but they all have to be put to death anyway. Okay, sure. Crichton then enters, says hello to everybody, and Rigel asks about the others, and then leaves, presumably to go join them. Hi, I'm not a statue anymore. See ya. Meanwhile, Scorpius and Dargo find Chiana hanging over the acid pit, with Kargan protecting her. Kargan wants to kill them, but Scorpius tells him he's been defeated by his own suspicions. Scorpius is suffering from the heat, and Kargan says that it's his Scaran half thrives on the heat, but his Peacekeeper side hates it, which is why he wears that cooling thermal regulator suit and also has that gigantic cooling rod stuck directly in his brain.
Oh.
Now it makes sense. Exposition, a great thing. A fight ensues with Kargan getting the upper hand until Crichton comes in and shoots him a lot and dumps him in the acid. Chiana falls, but Dargo leaps over the acid pit and carries her to safety. Dargo and Chiana leave, and Crichton grabs Scorpius's head to dump it in the acid. He stops, remembering when Scorpius was leaving something to remember him by, and Crichton says that he's not his enemy or his friend. If he doesn't leave him alone, the next time they meet, one of them will be dead. Crichton leaves, and Scorpius gets up with a grin and cockily flicks the acid, seemingly unaffected by it. Back in the, throne room, Crichton is still refusing to become a statue again, but the Empress says that Katrala is already pregnant with his child. They used his DNA sample from before. Crichton says that the child deserves two parents, so please make him a statue again. Novia agrees, but Tyno says that no, unfortunately that's not possible. Since Crichton is not a true Sabatian, he would die if he were made a statue again. Crichton says that he won't live for another 80 cycles and suggests that Tyno take his place. The Empress says that they're not compatible, but Crichton says that doesn't matter, Katrala's already pregnant. Crichton says that they love each other and asks Ctrl if that works for her. She says yes and thanks him and says she'll never forget him. The Empress says that as long as the secret does not escape, it can be done, since Crichton was never revealed publicly to the populace. He says the good guys win for once and goes to leave, but Katrala asks if he wants to see his offspring. He does and cuddles the young girl. On Moya, Chiana asks Dargo why Crichton didn't kill Scorpius. Dargo doesn't know. They also apparently don't know what happened to Moya while she was gone, because Zan and Pilot will not say what happened. Dargo is upset because Crichton will never see his daughter again. It is too close to home with his son. Back in the maintenance bay, Erin is doing some exercises to help re-strengthen her newly healed broken leg. Crichton enters and says that he's glad she's okay. She gets up and without words, she offers him the compatibility test. They take it, and after a passionate kiss, Erin turns and leaves. As the scene closes, they both smile and look happy.
Oh.
The end. Aww. Wuv. Twoo wuv. Some trivia about this episode. The bronze Crichton statue remained at the top of the stairs at Jim Henson's Creature Shop in Homebush Bay for the rest of the series. Speaking of which, it took 2 hours to get Ben Browder out of the body cast after he posed for the statue because the wrong material was used. Oops. Browder was surprised that there wasn't more of a reaction from the fans about Crichton's involvement with Jenna. And yeah, we'll talk about that in a minute. Claudia Black and Aaron Cash took an indoor rock climbing lesson before shooting their climbing scenes. And speaking of which, the rock climbing scenes were filmed in Darling Bay and in an area north of Sydney named Cornell. All right, so that was the exciting conclusion to the 3-part Look at the Princess trilogy. What did you think?
So, yeah, I'm a sucker for the long multi-parters. So I'll admit this one was another favorite of mine. They've probably been my favorite episodes as we've gone through the series. I'm still thinking we'll probably hit this as we go through, but the B plot, C plot, whatever it was in the end with Moya and Zan didn't really do it for me. I think we could have skipped that whole thing and just had them out of pocket for some other reason and brought them back without spending so much time on it, which might have allowed it to be a 2-parter or flesh out some other parts for the 3-parter. But again, still one of my favorite stories of the seasons so far.
Yeah, I guess we'll see, like, as Farscape has shown us before, even some of the throwaway stuff can come back and have meaning. So maybe at some point in the next 2.5 seasons or 1.5 seasons, whatever, they might mention Moya's creators again, or who knows? We'll see.
Yeah, I will say, though, that we could have done that storyline as the A plot of maybe the next episode instead of the one we're going to discuss in a minute. And, had the other stuff that we liked about that episode, spoilers, sorry, as the B plot, and worked them together instead of this, tagging that on to this episode, this trilogy.
Yeah, because I was thinking that it was an interesting subplot, but it's only like effectively a couple of scenes, like maybe a total of like 5 minutes maybe over the 3 episodes or something like that. So it kind of seemed like it was like rushed. It was like we need to fill some time. Here's a subplot because obviously we couldn't have Pilot down the planet with the wedding and all that stuff and whatever, and well, at least had something to do. But at least they kind of wrap it up. So okay, bonus points for that, I guess. And it's still confusing because Kahenu being, I don't know if he still doesn't get that Moya didn't make the warship Leviathan by herself, and that maybe he thinks that since she did it before, she can do it again, even without the Peacekeeper help. That just kind of confused me. Like, is he that clueless, or he just doesn't care?
Well, but my understanding at the end of that was it was never about Moya, and it was always about Zan and making sure that she wouldn't be the one to create a warship. Again, not the best story, but it could have been, I think.
Yeah, because again, it wasn't the crew of Moya; it was the people that enslaved her before. But yeah, whatever. Anyway.
Yeah, we got it.
Yeah,
it is
whatever.
what it is.
Yeah. At the end, he's like, okay, well, Zan's not going to create a whole fleet of Leviathan warships. But does he not know there's like 4 other people on the crew that he doesn't know about? So what about them? He didn't test them.
Well,
So,
they weren't part of that plot, so it's okay.
yeah. So anyway, enough of that. That's a thing that happened, and we'll discuss it no more unless it comes up some point later in the series. So yeah, so let's talk about the before the opening credits scene. So that kind of caught me off guard. It was funny that Clavor comes in, gets all upset. that I can't be emperor, and he punches Crichton in the face, which yeah, he's a metal statue dude. Oops, you know, not a smart move. But then Kargan just walks in and just cuts off Crichton's head. I'm like, wow, I didn't didn't see that one coming.
Yeah, I think this was a great example of a little bit of the humor that the show's known for, and does pretty well, and then along with a dramatic snap where you're like, wait a minute, it's kind of low stakes because we know that Crichton is going to make it out, right? I mean, we've got more show to make, but at the same time, they knocked off his head, so you get the wonder of, was he really in there? Was the statue a fake? It leads to a lot of great questions to start the episode.
Yeah, because obviously he's talking. He's aware of things. He's talking through that special headset, which is kind of weird. You're a statue, but I guess if you could see and hear for 80 cycles, I guess your mind's working somehow. So
Well,
then I guess in theory you could talk too. So okay, that's kind of cool.
so that I had questions about the headset. Was that mentioned anywhere else before we saw them use it at the beginning of this episode? Because
No.
honestly, when they broke that out, I thought that was them communicating with him, and kind of led to the statue's a fake setup, because maybe he's hidden away somewhere and they're communicating with him there. It took me a bit to actually trust that they were talking to the statue.
Yeah, and then I guess it only works when you're nearby the head, right, where their brain is. So then when his head was gone, they couldn't just bring up the headset and be like, "Hey, where are you?" But then yeah, is his body? I guess his head and his body are still alive. So in theory, like I said before, jokingly at the top of the show, that yeah, I guess you can still live forever as a severed head. Just okay, yeah, just don't put them back together again because, or just don't unstatufy him because you just have a head laying there. But yeah,
Yeah, so they had a throwaway line about his cells or his whatever existing at the cellular level, so any part of him was technically still alive, which made me wonder, you know, why couldn't they talk to the body, right? Because it's still part of him. It may not know where the head is, but they still could have talked to the body. But anyway, I thought that was an interesting. There's some interesting science there, and I put science in air quotes, that was pretty interesting. Yeah, was pretty different from what we've seen anywhere else, I think.
yeah, it was pretty. It made it for the little comical scene when Jenna tries to put his head back on, make sure it's on right, and then he's like, "Whoa, whoa, hang on," and then unstatues him, and he's like, "Oh, I'm a little stiff." Haha.
Yeah, I did notice they did a very bad job of security all around the body, because she had no trouble getting back in. But either way, yeah,
Yeah, it's like I think you want to like safeguard the machine that can turn people into statues so that they don't bring the head. Whatever. Anyway,
and
who
they
cares?
cut off his head. Shouldn't you guard the rest of it so nobody cuts off an arm? Because then you'd have the head back, but the arm's gone. I mean, we could do
Right.
this all day. Yeah,
I guess you can live as a unstatue person with no arm versus not having a head, but whatever. Details. It's fine.
details.
Yeah. So apparently after this, or after Crichton gets unstatuified and they can't find him, I guess Clavor thinks it's over somehow, even though he's not a statue now. So maybe he left, and then he can still be king or ruler, whatever you want to call him, emperor. But then he just decides, I guess, to no, just tell off Kargan. It's like, no, we're done. That's it. So I was kind of confused, like, why would he do that since he could still become emperor? And there's still a chance, but for some reason he just, I guess, decided, I'm done with this. Go ahead and get out of here. And the Scaren's like, oh, in that case, screw it. See ya. And then offs him right there.
Yeah, it was kind of pointed out, I think, by Scorpius at the end, that Kargan's own suspicions were his downfall, but I don't know. I'm not sure how much of that was because of Scorpius's presence, and the interference he had, and maybe it's a scaring thing that we'll pick up on later. I don't know. But Kargan didn't seem to be the swiftest, most stable individual.
Clavor wasn't quite in his right mind either. He's still really furious that I guess all his plans of becoming emperor are basically over, and I guess he didn't think too far ahead, or maybe thought, yeah, it was over. I mean, Crichton would come back, be a statue again, which he didn't really know at that point his head was back, but whatever. Anyway, so I guess yeah, you overreact, and unfortunately sometimes it doesn't work out so well.
It ends up with you getting killed by your homicidal buddy there. So, yep.
Yeah, so not the best ending to the plan for them. So. And then, speaking of Scarens and our buddy Scorpy, thanks to some nice plot exposition from Kargan, we know pretty much a good deal more about Scorpius than we knew up until this point. Scaren's like the heat, so he wants to be where the heat is. But Sebastian's, since he's half Sebastian, he doesn't like the heat. Remember the Sebastian heat delirium that Aaron almost died from. So now we know why he's got that thermal cooling suit. and especially that big nasty cooling rod stuck in the middle of his brain. So that's interesting.
Yeah, it does lead to questions about, how long did it take them to figure that out when he was like a baby or little, and how he survived to that point. But I do think it makes for a great character setup, right? I mean, you've not only got a hybrid between the two races, but he also has biology that is conflicting because he needs the heat and the cold, or you know that, but either one will kill him. So he has to put a cooling rod in his brain. So it, it's a pretty interesting character design. I definitely give him credit for the sci-fi setup.
Yeah, and now I'm thinking like, yeah, like, young little Scorpy, they have like a little tiny cooling rod in his head, and it just got bigger and bigger as he got older and older. I don't know. Anyway, things that make you go, hmm.
Hmm.
Speaking of things that make you go, hmm, when Scorpius was fighting Kargan and he was feeling the effects of the heat, he was kind of weak and stumbling around. But then once John leaves, he just kind of stands up and just like kind of this casually walks out. I'm like, so was he faking it? Was he did he know like he couldn't get Crichton since the Empress had locked down the planet? And he figured, he's got his other plan, which we'll talk about later, with being in his head or whatever. So maybe he's like, I've got him more or less. I know where he's going to be because I can track his DNA apparently. I guess not too far away, but anyway. So maybe he just let him go, and it was just faking it to because he didn't really care, or he had plans within plans.
I read that as, it was a complete fake. At first, I was kind of let down with how weak Scorpius was in the fight, which is a kind of a running theme in this that I'll probably revisit here in a minute. But he definitely, seemed to be easily taken out, and I wasn't sure if that was trying to show how powerful the Scaran was, or Scorpius is supposed to be this big bad, and he was taken out. But then at the very end, he just kind of shakes it off and nonchalantly, like you say, had no issue with the acid and was perfectly fine when he walked out. So I think my head canon at least is this is a complete act and was just him setting up Crichton for later.
Yeah, because it was just him and Dargo, right, that were down there. They didn't even know Crichton was alive, did they? And then Crichton just shows up at the end. So yeah, if he's playing, he was playing the long game, or at least reacted quick enough to fake everybody out.
Right.
All right, and then I guess the I won't call it like another throwaway plot line, the Aaron and Dragon plot line. I mean, maybe these are some of the other scenes that they embellished to make it a three-parter. Some of it kind of took away from the plot, like you're having all this action, or John's head's cut off, and then we cut to like rock climbing. I was like, oh, okay, that's. But I guess in a sense, or I guess it did actually lead to Aaron finally admitting to herself that she loves John. But then I guess at that time she admitted that to herself. She thought he was still a statue for 80 cycles. So I guess good that you were in touch with your feelings, but a little late.
Yeah. So on this one, I agree. It was kind of weak and quick, right? I mean, it was just introduced at the end of last episode and had to get wrapped up amongst everything else we were wrapping up in this episode. It was a little rushed. I'll say that if maybe, and I know we said we weren't going to talk about it anymore, but if they had dropped the Moya plot or pushed it to next episode and used that time for this, maybe they could have done something more expansive, that built up Aaron's change of heart a little more. But yeah, it was needed to get her out and Crichton to the next step and set up the really great ending, right? I mean, the ending of the show was, and we'll probably talk about that too. I really liked the ending of the episode, but it didn't. It could have paid off more if they'd spent more time or done a better job of building it up here.
Yeah, it's like they kind of had like an extra two or three subplots they may have used to expand the show to three parts, but maybe they could have taken one or two out and had more time for the rest. But I mean, I guess it works. It's a way of figuring out that, oh, I really do love John. So okay, fine. We'll give her that one.
Yeah, which means maybe by the end of the season, she'll mention that that's the work she came to. I don't know.
Yeah, and the ending, which we mentioned briefly, that yeah, so they do the test, and obviously it must have been a sweet taste because they turn around and they smile, not to each other, but they're happy that obviously they're compatible. But what if they weren't? Would that really have mattered? I mean, Tiana and Dargo aren't compatible, but that's not stopping them from having a great time.
True, but I think it may not have mattered biologically, but it definitely mattered mentally to Aaron, right? I mean, it was proof that she could actually have a relationship with him for whatever reason that the magical kiss juice tells him. Whereas, if it had been a negative, it just would have been further proof to her that they shouldn't get involved, right? So
Yeah, good point. Yeah, so it's kind of like further cements they're made for each other kind of thing.
Right, exactly. Although it kind of makes me wonder: is are humans just completely compatible with? Well, I guess he had other Sebaceans. I guess were what the people were on the planet. So he wasn't compatible with every Sebation because he would have known that at the beginning of the first episode. But it seems he's compatible with the important ones.
Yeah. Speaking of other people that he's not compatible with, I guess the part that I think to Ben Browder's own comments about the episode kind of infuriated me. I don't know if that's probably too strong a word. Made me really upset. What the heck, John? Sleeping with Jenna? Really? What the frell, buddy? What what is going through your head, man? Uh, I hope he's not going to use that friend's excuse that he and Aaron were on a break. That I'm just like, what are you doing?
Yeah, I got nothing for that. It made little sense to me as well. I mean, it didn't seem needed other than to happen. But at least the fact that it was not mentioned again, and maybe it won't be ever mentioned again, means it's unimportant. But I don't know what the point of including it was. I'll also mention that I don't know what the point of Jenna's mission was. Was her mission to not have Clavor be on the throne, or because it seems to be she's still I don't know how she won in that scenario helping Crichton.
Yeah, I mean, I guess her mission was a success. That Clavor, the bad sibling, I guess, isn't going to become emperor because now he's dead. But I don't think she didn't realize that at the time when they're out in the wilderness doing whatever they're doing out there. So yeah, I mean, I guess it's over now. So I guess she had to make her big leaving scene like, oh, my boyfriend's dead. Oh, I hate everybody, and storms out or something. So I guess her cover is still good, but yeah, I guess she'll be leaving the planet at some point
Right.
because her job's done, right?
Right. Yeah, and that leads me to, and again, just to kind of reiterate, I really did like this trilogy. We've nitpicked a couple of points, but I think if that was probably the infuriating point for you, I got to hit upon mine, which was the use of Crichton's DNA to have a baby without his consent, because it was pitched as, hey, we can see what your kid would look like, just to make sure y'all are compatible beyond a doubt, and then this episode we get it thrown at us that, oh no, not only did we test your DNA, but she's already pregnant, and in 80 years you'll have a kid.
Yeah, and I guess plus the fact that now you've got however old it's only been like days old, so it's not really a what zygote. Well, I don't know. I can't remember my biology class, but yeah, basically it's gonna be frozen for 80 years too. So it's like that's kind of an odd way to go about your maternity, but okay. But yeah, I guess I can kind of see the Empress's point. I guess is well, since you're compatible, so let's just start it off. Maybe that's their not policy, whatever. Not ceremony, whatever. Maybe that's their thing on this world is that's how they do the royalty bit. But yeah, you might want to have like led with that because it seems like John's just going through this whole thing like totally clueless. Like, oh yeah, it's great. I'm getting married to a princess. What? I gotta be a statue. What? I have a son or a daughter. What? It's like he has no clue what's happening to him this whole time.
Yeah, I guess the moral of the story is don't jump into a DNA machine, even if it does show you what your kid will look like in the future, because you never know where your DNA ends up.
Yeah, 'cause, obviously they were poking and prodding him. They said to see like what he was because he wasn't a Sebacean. So they're trying to figure out what he was. So I guess yeah, there's lots of samples going around, and scientists, as we've learned over the last couple of years, just tend to do things with things, and they probably shouldn't. And there you go.
Just because you can doesn't mean you should, or something like that. There, anyway.
Right. Just because you can do a thing doesn't mean you should do that thing, right? But yeah, I mean overall, it's they wrapped up all the plot lines, so that's what we wanted. Happy endings for everybody, except for Clavor and Kargan.
Well,
But
happy
hey,
endings for
yeah,
everybody we cared about, right? So
exactly. Yeah. Even happy ending for Scorpius. He's still around to torment John later, as we'll find out. So,
yeah, in multiple ways.
yeah,
All right. Speaking of, you want to jump into that one?
sure.
All right, buckle up for this one, guys. Season 2, Episode 14, Beware of Dog. So we open up, Crichton's in his quarters playing chess and mumbling to himself. Aaron questions what he's doing, and he sees a vision of Scorpius implanting something to remember him by. Dun dun dun. Aaron wonders if he might be suffering the effects of long-term space travel, but he doesn't want to talk. Rigel is in the cargo bay where the crew are storing food that they recently obtained. He asks Zan where Chiana and Dargo are. Apparently, food in this region is often infested with parasites, and they're out finding a cure.
You see, this is why that's why I have to keep buying crackers because crackers are totally fine.
And they don't
They
matter.
don't they don't have parasites and they don't matter. Yeah,
Yeah. Or
because
at
they don't
least
matter.
the
So
parasites in them don't matter. Suddenly, some containers topple over, making Rigel jump. Chiana and Dargo return with a Vork, worst purchase ever, and apparently it will seek out a species of parasite and eradicate it completely. The parasites killed a ship of over 200 people, and so Aaron suggests jettisoning the food before the problem occurs. We should really listen to Aaron more often. And then the Vork pees on Dargo and jumps up and runs off, with Chiana chasing after it. So we're off to a good start. Crichton is playing a version of golf on one of Moya's tiers when he hears a noise in the ventilation shaft. On inspection, he sees a creature, which he fires at, but it runs off. So we definitely have something loose on the ship. Aaron and Dargo arrive on the scene, but they can't find any trace of the creature, and they seem to think that Crichton was imagining it. Rigel comes along to protect his food, but Dargo, already aggravated, makes him smell the Vork pee on his clothes. Crichton guesses that he saw the Vork, but when Aaron describes it, he realizes that wasn't it. Zan is sorting out the food in the cargo bay when the containers start falling over, and she is apparently attacked. Chiana comes along with a cage, and they try to capture the Vork. It avoids them, but Aaron gets a hold of it by the neck. It bites her and runs off. Maybe she needs a better protective outfit, but yeah.
Yeah, it's like when I grab my cat the wrong way and I get clawed for it. Yeah, you don't do that.
Now, if you wouldn't wear those midriff bearing outfits, it can get you. Anyway.
Yeah, true.
Pilot and the DRDs can't find Crichton's creature, and after talking with Aaron, he thinks that Crichton may have been imagining it. Crichton hears something, and after creeping around, he ends up pointing his gun at Rigel, who was checking on his cargo, i.e. food.
Exactly. And where else would he be? Right.
That's right. Chiana and Dargo are searching for the Vork in hopes that it'll lead them to the parasite. Aaron enters her quarters and steps on some poop. As you do. On seeing the Vork on her bed, she hits it in the face and tells Dargo that the Vork is there. While she speaks to him, the Vork starts humping her leg, but then smells something and suddenly runs off as Aaron follows. In the cargo bay, the creature that Crichton saw is now stalking Chiana and Rigel. Chiana goes to hit it, but it smacks her to the floor. Dargo arrives, but it attacks him and then runs. Rigel is trying to bring Dargo around when Crichton comes in and checks on Chiana. When Dargo comes around, he says the parasite is real, then he starts convulsing, so the others call for Zan. In her lab, Zan has cleared Dargo's wound, but apparently he has a secondary infection, and Chiana is anxious about his health. Crichton and Aaron are searching for the parasite, but they find the Vork instead. As Chiana and Dargo talk, Zan discovers that Dargo has been poisoned, and it's killing him. Zan tells Crichton they need the parasite alive to try to get an antidote from it. Crichton is watching the DRD surveillance on a monitor when Scorpius appears on it and says, "You'll never see it coming, John."
Ooh, foreshadowing.
Foreshadowing. Zan has set up Dargo in a part of Moya so that he will get continuous air to help him breathe. Rigel joins them, apparently not wanting to be alone. As Aaron is carrying the Vork on her back, trying to find the parasite, Pilot tells her that the DRDs have found the creature. It's above the chamber where Zan is, but it leaves the airlock and approaches Chiana. She shoots it, but Crichton grabs her and reminds her that they need it alive. Pilot manages to lock the creature in command, but the three don't find it. Crichton sees Scorpius again and then finds the Vork. It starts to shake and spews out the parasite. They knock it out and then take it to Zan. On examination, Zan finds no toxin in the parasite's blood, so they don't understand what's happening. Zan says that Dargo's respiration is failing and he won't last much longer. Chiana is talking to Dargo and blames herself for Dargo's condition. And Crichton is trying to figure it all out and says that the Vork can't have poisoned Dargo, and Aaron realizes that something else must have happened. Crichton suggests asking the Vork, which Aaron thinks is deranged. She doesn't have a better idea, though, so they decide to go with it. They inject it with translator microbes, but Aaron still doesn't think it understands her, and so she suggests killing it. It gets upset, so Crichton tells her to take it back. Pilot seems to understand it using a form of nonverbal communication. It starts repeating, "friend," so Crichton asks what it wants. "Bad danger here," is the reply. It says that it can kill the parasite if they free it. They agree that their only choice is to trust the Vork. They follow it as Rigel tells them that if it comes near him, he'll kill it. In the cargo bay, it seems it's after Rigel, and Crichton and Aaron come in, telling him to say that it's his friend. However, it finds Rigel, and he bites it, but it overpowers him. Rigel is badly injured, and the creature runs off. Rigel is then being healed by Zan, who found massive traces of toxins in his wound. Both Rigel and Dargo will die without the antidote. Aaron and Crichton find the creature's blood, and as Aaron follows it, Crichton starts seeing Scorpius behind her and shoots at him. She jumps, wondering what he's doing. They spot the creature but miss, and realizing it's leading them into a trap. They follow it to the cargo bay, and they manage to shoot it, but then they see a huge cocoon. Zan continues her analysis as Chiana watches over Dargo, when bugs suddenly start emerging from Rigel's body. Aaron says that Chiana told her the parasites leave cocoons behind, and they find Rigel inside. Rigel tells them that he was cocooned for its offspring to eat, and produces helium, proving that he's the real Rigel, as he does. Crichton and Aaron run off, and the parasite Rigel attacks Zan. Crichton and Aaron run in and shoot it, and it explodes into a large number of small bugs, which Crichton then kills with some coolant freezer, because they just happen to have that laying around.
Yeah, because you're in the coolant freezer zone. Oh no, wait, you're in Zan's lab. Wait a minute. Wait.
Well, they're everywhere. They're wherever the plot needs them to be.
Exactly.
Rigel tells Dargo and Chiana what it was like in the cocoon and wonders how they could be fooled. Dargo says that it was a perfect copy of him, but Rigel says he's fortunate the courageous Vork was there to rescue him. Aaron is holding the Vork, and Pilot says that it is happy. It knows its time is near, and Aaron says that she's so sorry, and the Vork dies in her arms as she cries. Aww.
Oh, poor Vork.
Poor
Alas,
Vork.
poor Vork. We knew him well.
Or somewhat, for one episode.
Whatever. Yeah.
Crichton is playing chess with Aaron sitting across from him. She asks him what he really was firing at when he nearly shot her, and he says he's been having flashes of Scorpius, like he's talking to him, and only to him. Aaron asks what he's saying, and Crichton says that Scorpius tells him that he's going to get him, that he already has, but Crichton just doesn't know it yet. Aaron asks why he didn't kill Scorpius when he had the chance, and Crichton says that he tried, but he couldn't. There's something inside of him that stopped him. Aaron asks if he needs help, but Crichton says that he's not going to lose his mind. It's all he has left. Aaron leaves, and Scorpius suddenly appears, telling Crichton that he'll never see it coming. Crichton gets him in checkmate and says, "You lose," but Scorpius replies that wasn't the trap he meant. Little trivia about this episode. Crichton references Caddyshack and quotes Bill Murray's groundskeeper character, Carl, specifically while he golfs in Moya's corridors. The idea of putting the Vork on Aaron's back was Claudia Black's idea, who was inspired by Yoda riding on Luke's back in The Empire Strikes Back. The scene with the Vork dying was originally scripted for the larger creature. It was obvious that the larger creature was not capable of the emotional pull needed, so it was rescripted. Also, much of the dialogue between Aaron and Crichton was ad-libbed in rehearsal. And finally, Browder said he enjoyed the episode and felt that it laid out a number of clues for the rest of the season. He said, "One of the things that I like about season 2 is that there is a layered, long arc, and you can go back and look for clues. So in that way, the show stands up to repeated viewing." So, I guess before I hit my complaints, Eric, what'd you think of this one?
It was a half a good episode, and we'll go into that later a little bit. I think we said, or I said last time that maybe this episode might be like a bottle episode since they spent lots of money and lots of cast and supporting cast on the prior 3-part story. And yeah, that's pretty much what they did.
They spent
Although
all their
they still,
storytelling ability too, but okay, anyway.
yeah. I mean, they did throw in a couple of plot twists to throw you off. Like, was it the Vork that was the parasite was killing people? Then when the Vork became the parasite, or what they thought was a parasite, they're like, oh, we got it. And it's like, nope. So they still kept you kind of guessing. And I guess you had no real clue that Rigel wasn't really Rigel, which we'll get into in a minute too. But so, I mean, it had its moments, but yeah, it was okay.
So I guess my major issue, and when I couldn't get past the whole episode, was I really didn't like the Vork. I didn't like the storyline around it. I didn't like the character design. I really didn't like the character design. It was like a bad cross between E.T. and that gremlin bat creature that Jabba had. It just didn't work. Not for me anyway.
I mean, you didn't like all the potty humor. We got pee, poop, and farts. You didn't appreciate any any of that.
No. So it didn't land. None of that didn't. Not the scene, especially not the scene with it on Aaron's leg. I'm probably not the target for those jokes, but yeah, it got quite a few eye rolls from me on this one. I gotta admit.
Yeah, I mean, it's juvenile. I mean, I get it, and I mean, to me, unfortunately, or fortunately, whatever, that's not my kind of humor, but I did kind of chuckle, especially when he was, humping Aaron's leg, because I guess he had like the hots for Aaron or something. I don't know, because he was like all over throughout the whole show, basically. So it's like, yeah, I mean, it's funny, but yeah, I can see your point. It's kind of like, yeah, okay, it's maybe once or twice we get it, right?
Yeah, I think I could have lived with it in a scene or two. There's been some spots where I'm like, okay, I get it. Some people find that more funny than I do, and I mean, a little bit goes a long way for me. And this was a lot. It was every scene we had to throw something in with the Vork. So in Vork form, at least, the I will admit I did find the Hunter Vork. I guess if we do well the combatant form, whatever, you had the tracker form and the combat form. And the combat form would have been more interesting to me. I would have liked to have seen more of an explanation around that.
Yeah, they didn't really show you too much detail of it, other than like it had like some like not claw, but like kind of like spiky arms, like maybe like stab and attack things, and kind of had like that kind of like that was it that Japanese like emperor crab kind of face kind of look. So yeah, it looked like, yeah, it kind of looked like a warrior kind of thing. So it was a cool concept, but maybe with just the way they had to pull off the creatures and stuff, it just didn't seem that realistic, I guess.
Yeah, and it seemed really good at opening cocoons. I guess I will give it that. It had a great cocoon opening technique. But
Mm.
anyway,
And then we get Crichton keeping up with the Earth pop culture references. This time, like you said, he was playing golf on Moya, and he's acting out the parts of Caddyshack. Like young Cinderella story. Looks like it's about nine iron, and he's hitting. I was rolling on the floor because Caddyshack's one of my favorite movies. It's in my mind the best golf movie ever made. Fight me on that one. That's what I think.
well, I won't fight you about that because my golf movie knowledge is pretty much Zill. And unfortunately, I'll have to admit that while I'm familiar with some Caddyshack references, I've never seen it. So, yeah, I probably lost some credit on that one, but I did get some of the references at least.
Yeah, this podcast is over. Yeah, yeah. Being a horrible golfer, I can appreciate a nice Caddyshack reference when I see it.
So I'll seg into a quick story of the fact that I've only been on a golf course once in my life, and that was because I worked on the backside of one, and I took a wrong turn coming out of work and pulled out onto one of the greens in my pickup truck. So yeah,
Ooh, yeah.
that's the only time I've been on a golf course in my life,
Yeah, you don't want to like trench a green with a pickup truck. Yeah, that's not good.
especially not with new mud tires on it. But anyway, yeah, moving on.
Oops. It's the new green hazard. It's it's the new thing. Yeah, so I guess not wanting to harp on this thing too much, although I guess that's why we're an opinion podcast here.
Kind of what we do.
Yeah, the parasite concept didn't make much sense. Okay, food has parasites, fine, whatever. But so obviously we saw later like these little tiny bugs. So I guess they weren't the original that attacked Rigel, because so must be some like original or mama or whatever parasite was larger.
Was it?
And
Where did
okay,
it go?
I don't know. Yeah, or I guess it became Rigel. So it like mimicked, like, so it cocooned Rigel and then it took his form. But then also it's
Made up of little bugs?
somehow telepathic or something, so it got the memories of Rigel, and like, I mean, this whole thing was like from where I saw this twice on Farscape. Season one, episode two. Go back and look at our very first podcast, or don't, because we didn't know what we're doing. Exodus from Genesis. They had the bugs that mimicked people, so they can stay alive long enough to breed. Okay. Then half a season later, in episode 18, A Bug's Life, you have that virus that infects people, but it can read their minds, so it can act like the person, so they don't think anything's wrong, while it breeds more viruses. So it's like we already saw this twice. Did we need a third go at this?
And I think that's one of the major reasons I had issues with the A plot, right? So I didn't like the character design. That bugged me the whole episode. At the same time, the entire A plot was almost a rehash of these other stories, which I think told the story a little bit better. This was it. It wasn't as well done or as thoroughly done as the previous two incarnations, and we're only on season two, so kind of early to go back to the well for a third time.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of wonder, were they like how the story came about? Were they short on the season, or they just came off this big three-parter? So It's like they're tired. It's like, oh, what do we got? I don't know. You want to do a bug thing again? Sure, let's do it. I don't know.
Well, and I hate to keep bringing again. I'm going to bring up again the episode, the part of the plot that we said we weren't going to bring up again. But take the Moya builders makers storyline from the last episode, push it to this one, and use the good parts of this episode, which we're fixing to talk about, I promise, in a second, and just scrap the bug, and they're not the bug, but the virus, whatever you want to call it, the parasites, and tell the good parts of this story, the B plot, around that as an A plot, and you're golden, I think.
Yeah, because obviously, and the best part of this whole episode, let's talk about it now. So
Yay!
we've told the thing we hated about it.
Yeah,
Let's talk about
that's
the thing that was
bugged me enough. Let's move on.
aha bug. Yeah, get it. But
Jokes.
yeah, so yeah, so the whole subplot with John, or main plot, however you want to call it, with him and his visions or hallucinations of Scorpius is fantastic. I mean, obviously, I knew where this is going. I just didn't know where it started, like I said last time. So it's great to kind of see like the genesis of what's going on here. They've been kind of hinting at it for at least the last 2 or 3 episodes when Crichton said that Scorpius is in his head before he got turned into a statue, and obviously afterwards he starts seeing him, and in this episode he sees him a lot. So it's building in frequency and I guess intensity because now he's shooting at it and like yelling at it. So I mean, it's not driving him crazy yet, but who knows, right? Something's going on.
I absolutely agree. I think these that was definitely my favorite part of this episode was the expansion of. I mean, just the chess scenes alone, bookending the episode were great. I do question. I guess I would have liked an answer. Maybe we get it later, so I'll be patient. But why did it step up? Was it the fact that he just encountered Scorpius last episode or the last couple episodes, and that's why it's come to the forefront again? I mean, he's obviously been a while since he got put in the Aurora chair, which I'm guessing is when all this started. So is it just a close contact with Scorpius last episode that triggered it, or is something else going on? So I'm in for this. I just wish the B plot had a better container.
Yeah, because they might kind of say where I guess, or John says something like, or Scorpius says that they have a scene where he's like doing something to John and he's in the chair. So yeah, is he like implanting whatever this is? Like is John brainwashed? Not brainwashed, but is he having some kind of like? Because yeah, is it a hallucination or is it really some kind of Scorpius like mental thing or like an alternate personality or like a new personality or like is part of Scorpius like in John's head now or is John really crazy? Like you don't know yet.
Right.
So
Yeah.
it's
It seems like we're past a little bit of a PTSD or whatever the chair would have caused, and it seems like there definitely was some kind of implant or chemical alteration done right to make this occur. So then we got to figure out, well, how much is this related to the real Scorpius? Is it John's imagining of Scorpius, or is there actually like some control that Scorpius has of this to communicate with John?
yeah, and to your point, like was this when Scorpius saw him again on the planet last episode, did he like activate or was it like a timed thing where he implanted it back however many months ago or half cycles, half whatever. Yeah. I don't think they have months in Farscape, or at least we don't know. But yeah, did he get implanted last time and it's been growing in his head or yeah, did like his fun with Scorpius last time did he like activate something within him to set this off again? And now he can track him apparently, which we didn't know about either. Although how that works, I don't know. But yeah, so I don't know. It's great to see where this starts and how it's evolving. So it's interesting.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to the rest of the story. One last thing I did want to mention about this episode was when they were one of the points where John asks Pilot to, I think it's something about the dampers or one about the RDs. He asked him for something, and Pilot responded calling Crichton Commander. And maybe I've missed it or I've forgotten. Has that happened before? Has Crichton been called Commander by Pilot before, as opposed to just John or Crichton?
I think so, maybe a couple times. Not a lot. Usually, he just calls him maybe Crichton or just doesn't really call him my name. But I guess because he's a commander, that's his rank. I guess from I was gonna say NASA, but it's IASA, however you pronounce that.
So yeah. It caught me off guard because maybe I'd again forgotten it or whatever. But it seemed like an odd position when everybody uses names on the ship. They don't. It's not like Star Trek where they throw rank around a whole lot, and to get commander as his yes commander or whatever he said in a acknowledgement just kind of caught me. So I thought that was interesting.
Yes, I think Pilot still calls Aaron sometimes like officer son, even though she's not really a peacekeeper anymore. But I guess it's maybe being polite or honorific to them because they had a rank, or I guess she still has a rank, I guess, unless Crace stripped her of it, you know.
Well, I don't know that Crace could do a whole
I
lot
don't
of
know.
anything at this point. So
Yeah, at this point, Crace isn't the captain either, so hey, who cares, right? Call him in what you want. Right?
rank is more of a state of mind, right? So
Yeah, because Dargo's a general, right? According to his tattoos on his face. So yeah, but
yeah, I just thought it was a cool side note that
mhm.
it was an acknowledgement of his rank. So
All right, so let's I guess wrap up these 1.5 episodes. So obviously the Maltese Crichton was the big conclusion to the three-part epic, which we both loved it. We poke fun at it because that's what we do, But some of it did kind of seem rushed, like the Moya stuff. They had a lot of things to wrap up, so they did a good job of it. You know, Maybe they didn't really need to have that many plot lines, but they worked with them all and they wrapped them all up. So good job. And they even, I guess, officially kicked off the new plot line with Scorpius and John's head. And Aaron and Crichton are now a thing for real now.
are they?
So that's good.
I,
Well,
I
I
didn't I
hope so.
didn't get that this episode, but I hope so.
Yeah,
I'll
not here. They didn't really do it because I guess they were busy not having a fork hump your leg. Whatever. Anyway,
too soon.
well, whatever. Anyway, but yeah, the whole Crichton and Jenna thing. Why? I would love to ask anybody related to that show what they were on when they made that decision. And then Beware of Dog. I mean, I think I liked it a little better than you did, so I'll consider it an average episode. Not bad, not good, not great. But the main thing obviously to get out of that one is the whole Scorpius and John's head thing becoming more to the foreground and starting to affect Crichton, in the real world basically, and what that might mean for the future of the season and beyond.
I really enjoyed the sum of the Look at the Princess trilogy, and I guess I'm also going to take credit or give myself points for the Maltese Falcon, haha, Maltese Crichton title being a hunt for the statue, right? Because I did not expect it to be just the head they had to hunt for, but I definitely expected there to be a heist and have to find the statue. So okay, partial credit there. And speaking of partial credit, Beware of the Dog kind of fell flat for me, as I've pretty much communicated here. So I'll say that with these two, we're batting 500 with bonus points for the B plot of Beware Dog because I did enjoy the Crichton Scorpius bits and where that advances us.
Oh, and I was a little disappointed that the Dragon wasn't more important than just kind of like vain, vapid eye candy or whatever. I don't know, but whatever. I guess all plot lines can't be winners. So
Yeah, I was really hoping he was going to be a resistance leader or something instead of incompetent falls off of a cliff boyfriend.
yeah, it's like I'm here because I love you. Well, yeah, we knew that because all the last 2 episodes you're trying to get her to kiss you with the test thing, but whatever, fine. Anyway, whatever. Go rock climb and have fun,
Or
or not.
not.
Yeah, I've climbed lots of rocks in the simulator. Yeah, but anyway. All right, so next time we got the season 2, episode 15, Won't Get Fooled Again, and episode 16, The Locket. And I guess our usual, let's have fun with the titles. Uh, Won't Get Fooled Again, that's a Who song. Not sure if Crichton's going to quote some lyrics. He didn't on the last couple of times it has a song title. Once he did it, but we'll see.
Oh, I'm going to stop you there. We also did get a name drop for the title of either of these episodes. So major disappointment there. But go ahead.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of hard to go like, look at the Princess Part 3, the Maltese
Well,
Crichton. You really can't. That doesn't roll off the tongue too well.
yeah.
But Beware of Dog, they could have done that because he was humping at her leg. He was peeing on people and pooping on, that was right there. I mean, they just, but
Yeah,
whatever.
they just stepped in it. So
So yeah, so I guess won't get fooled again. I guess we'll going off the title literally. Maybe somebody's tricking them, or if it's again, maybe it's somebody we've met before trying to do it again. So they don't get fooled again. I did, since as the episode ends, you kind of get the little Amazon pop-up window of the next episode. So I kind of see maybe what it might be, but I'm not going to comment on that to ruin anything. Just let me be surprised. As for the locket, episode 16. Okay, well, the obvious is that there's a locket, some kind of jewelry, a necklace, a locket, whatever. So is that like they find one, have to give it to somebody, or it's one of the crew's lockets? Dargo had that little hologram locket or whatever you want to call it that you know gave a projection of his wife and son. So maybe we're going to finally move along the Dargo son plotline, which would be really cool because they keep hinting about it. So at some point they have to pull the trigger on that plotline, right?
Yeah, I have no clue on the Locket one, so that guess is as good as anything I've got. I would be I'm ready for that storyline. I think we've teased it long enough, so that'd be cool. For the first one, don't get fooled. Won't get fooled again. I'll say I'd like to see a revisit from a past character, maybe somebody who got the better of the crew, and we can revisit them. No clue who that'd be. I don't have anybody in mind, but it'd be kind of neat to for that to be the again part to actually mean a revisit, and hopefully not just a repeat of a previous plot like we had this time.
Yeah. Hopefully not that Q like being already back for the second time in season 2, right? We don't want to see him again, right?
Maldus,
Yeah, Maltese, yeah.
yeah.
Hopefully not. He was just on a few episodes ago, so you don't want to keep dropping that up. Yeah, I mean maybe it's the wormhole aliens again. His dad that was really the ancient creature guy, because I guess they still want to be able to find some place they can breed, right? So
Hey, maybe they'll come back up here against DK this time since we haven't seen him since episode 1.
yeah, right. See, because we're fooling you because now we're using people that we didn't show you last time. See, so it's different. Which hopefully is a better plot line than trying to use the same bugs that can mimic people. Anyway, too soon again.
Too soon again. Still too soon.
No more bugs. We're bug free. All right, so that is your homework for next time, and we'll see you then. Goodbye.